Alrighty, welcome back to we need to use Jeanne d'Arc to obliterate the enemies, this fort, so we can cross that bridge to... What is this? Odd. What is this? Can we use that? To cross the bridge or something?
Commandement in.
Another trade convoy arrived in Orléans with more gold to bolster the army.
Armes des Relic et avant. Voisits, compagnons. Voisits. Oi, si sera fait.
Companions.
Engins de siège attendent vos ordonnances.
Les coureurs attendent les fins de match. Devers tout devant Corrida.
Reste tout, reste ici.
Les coureurs attendent les fins de match. Coureurs prêts pour Corrida, besoin.
The French army torched the eastern English fort, securing a crossing to the south bank of the Loire River.
Les coureurs sont Ensemble.
Engins, reste tous à l'once.
Devers.
Reste tout, reste assis. Espringay assis. Seconde votre commandement.
Oh yes, les commandements.
Meiji and way.
Les coureurs sont Ensemble.
Engins, armes, chars du fourreau. Avance.
Commandement. Coureurs prêts pour Corrida. Les coureurs attendent les fins de match. Les coureurs sont Ensemble. Les coureurs attendent les fins de match. Coureurs prêts.
Reste tout, reste assis.
Devers tout devant Corrida.
Do I care about the supply convoy? I mean, not really.
Les coureurs sont Ensemble.
The last obstacle to Les Tourelles fell to ruin.
Commandement.
Coureurs prêts pour Corrida.
Obéir, c'est vertu.
Soyez prêts, je fais vos commandements.
À parler.
Oh yes, les
Compagnons, and way pour la bataille, soudars.
Donnez-moi vos advits.
L'Espringay attendent vos ordonnances. Engins de siège attendent vos ordonnances. Armes des Relic et avant.
We're gonna wait for Jeanne d'Arc's neat ability to heal units. And I want this siege weapon. Yes, against the walls.
Veici les commandements.
What? One came through? Okay.
Honneur est d'obéir.
Commandement incon...
Oyez, mettons son voué.
Soit...
Reste tous, allons.
Another trade convoy arrived in Orléans with more gold to bolster the army.
Armes hors du fourreau. Avant. Oyez, armes des forêts et avant.
Oyez les...
Compagnons, armes hors du fourreau. Avant.
Commandement incontinent. J'ai besoin...
À parler.
Soyez compagnon. Soyez soyez...
Régimendement. Seconde votre commandement. Engway, arme au poing. Engway, arme au poing. Arme suivante. Tivès, Victor, reste tout est assis. Informé. Et quand envoyé.
Courez où? Reste porté compagnon. Reste...
En champ de Engway, quoi.
Devez réflexe. À la salle.
En champ votre attendez.
Les courez où? Attaquez les commandements.
Reste en cache pour le monter.
Les courez à l'ordre de temps.
En champ. Voyez, compagnons.
Devers ou devant.
Yonjans, moment nous.
Texte.
Oyez, les commandements. Voyez, compagnons.
Commandement incontinent. Compagnon, je fais vos commandements.
Que faut-il donc besoigner?
Voyez, oui, besoin.
Jetzt les commandements.
Esprangay, assis. En champ de oil.
Arbelestre, à chest mesvon.
Or, attendons, sorte de oil. Si sera.
Les coups pointables. Bien ordonnés.
Immangonès, attendons ordonnance. En champ de.
Soyez les spectateurs.
En champ de votre. Reste tous à l'ombre.
Arbelestre pareil. Chest mesvon, arbelestier. À point de jet back.
Voyez, besoin.
Bon, besoin.
Que
Que faut-il donc besoigner?
Attentis. Régimendement. Oil. En champ de siège, attendez. En champ de siège, si partons nose. En champ de siège, traillette.
Oh, sniping.
En champ de siège, traillette. Archer. Prenez Archer.
Jetman, je gagne mon game.
Archer. Reste tout est assis. Traillette, sus.
Comment s'y fait comme toi?
En champ de votre abandonne. Et reste tout est assis. En champ de armes hors du fourreau. Avant. Conquest. En champ de. En champ, traillette. Seconde votre congonelle s'assise. En champ votre attendez. À parmer.
Reste placez-moi exploit. Voyez-moi besoin. Voyez-moi besoin.
Courez où? Reste porté d'air.
Reste tout est. En champ de siège. Traillette. En champ votre attendez.
Les courez où?
Reste tout est assis.
Enemies marching. Arbelestier, check. Oui, à parler. Arbelestre,
Les temps s'envoient.
une small première.
Reste tout est assis. En champ ça. Traillette. Assayette. Is.
Courez où? Prêt.
En champ de siège. Attendez vos ordonnances. Les engins à parmer. Les engins est mûrs.
Devers sous devant ce river.
Engine was attendant! Engine, créez!
Engins de siège, créez! Hors attendance, ordonnance.
Besoin de nos attaques.
On a obéi au commandement. Le Vercou me met à la voie. Archier, je l'ai fait.
Arbenestre, la quête se met vos!
Bon, ainsi soit.
How do we kill those? Can the tower shoot at them? It should. Possible.
Dicte marchiers, adventons. Sieste.
Les coureurs attendent les man de man.
Que faut-il donc besogner? Reste pour la baillette du moins besogne.
Engin de siège, attends! Voyez!
Mouvez, sisters, engines.
Are they not reacting? AI, what's happening?
Second, votre commandement.
What?
Votre commandement.
Les Tourelles was the linchpin in the English siege of Orléans, blocking the main supply route to the city. If Jeanne d'Arc could capture it, Orléans would finally be liberated.
Les coureurs sont sincères.
Engin was attendant! Voyez!
Coureurs très fortement. Les coureurs
Engin de Engin was attendant!
sous devant ce river.
Dicte votre plaisir.
Announce.
I hate this. I do not understand AI. Can anyone explain to me why the freaking smoking hell? The villagers think it's a good idea to run out of the keep when enemy approaches. I mean, what? Enemy approach.
The king's army drove the hated enemy of France from Les Tourelles. With the main road to the city back in French hands, the English abandoned their long siege of Orléans. Celebrating a momentous victory at the head of the French army, Jeanne d'Arc would forever be remembered as the Maid of Orléans.
I mean, seriously, why? If I tell villagers, stay there. You're going to need to repair stuff in case enemy attacks. And there's the wall, there's the villager, there's the gate. And the enemies are approaching here. And the enemies are approaching, and instead of staying behind to repair, the villagers are like, dying. Bye. Why? Why? Alrighty, campaign life.
A medieval army on the march was a city on the move. No no expense was spared to keep knights and nobles in the lap of luxury.
Knights lived in luxurious tents called pavilions, which they had all of their furnishing, proper chairs and tables and tableware, real beds with fine linens, even wall hangings.
All this furniture had to be transported, and that's on top of what was needed for combat. Weapons and armor needed an army of artisans to maintain them.
The armourer's job on campaign was one of maintenance, constantly repairing, knocking out dents, simply changing straps, or replacing rivets that had broken. If you think of the knight as a race car driver, the armourer is his chief mechanic. Without him, he would not be able to function.
Also following an army was a band of opportunistic civilians, the camp followers, all vying to sell their services and goods to the soldiers. When on the march, most of the thousands of soldiers were mounted. Each knight would have at least 6 horses, all needing grooms, farriers, and fodder.
The royal household brought with them their clerks, their priests, essential for men who feared they might die in battle, and of course, their cooks.
The common soldier subsisted mainly on bread and a thick soup called pottage. It was an altogether different story for the knights.
A knight on campaign would expect the best food. So we have game, we have fine meats, we have fruit when it's in season, always cooked, because food is tied in with health as well. That's very important. And I'm just finishing off a dish here of spiced meatballs with a red wine and pine nut sauce.
French and English armies could be on campaign for months on end, manoeuvring and skirmishing until they took to the field for a decisive battle.
Alright, we've seen Desperation already. Yeah. And Defiance. You know, since this is not the episode where I started this mission, we're going to watch Desperation again. But first, Defiance. A page from history. You may tear me limb from limb. You may separate my soul from my body. But I will tell you nothing more. Jeanne d'Arc spoke these words exactly 2 years after lifting the siege of Orléans. She had spent the last year in enemy custody and was reaching the end of a trial for heresy. A pro-English bishop had interrogated her for weeks. She had answered his questions, told him of the saints who visited her, and the mission they had given her. She had denied his accusations of witchcraft and idolatry. What is idolatry? I mean, an idol, I know what an idol is, but does that mean praying to an idol? Idolatry. The worship of idols. Yeah. Okay. I see. Yeah, forbidden in Abrahamic religions. Now, he had called her back to the trial chamber where he had arranged implements of torture. 19 years old, worn down by battle, imprisoned and interrogated. Imprisonment and interrogation, sorry. Jeanne stared down the torturers of the Inquisition. Did you actually know that the Inquisition was relabeled to the Congregation for Religious Belief? Did you actually know who was the head of that congregation? You probably don't. There was a pope, more or less recently, who retired from being pope. You know, Pope Benedict XVI, also called I'm going to pronounce it in English. Is it German? Joseph is it Aloysius? Alois? Oh, Ratzinger. Damn, I don't remember correctly. And he was head of the congregation for religious beliefs. So the previous pope, before becoming pope, was head of the Inquisition. But it was relabeled because people don't like the name Inquisition. So the Catholic Church was like, oh, okay, we're going to give it another name. And people forgot. Some of us haven't. So there is no more Inquisition. There is now a relabeled organization. The Congregation for Religious Belief. The tools went unused. The bishop seethed in embarrassment. Oh, I apologize. Is it Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith? Wait a second. I only know the German name for it. It's called the Kongregation der Glaubenslehre. I translated it to the best of my knowledge, but I'm not sure. New name for Inquisition. Congregation. Let's see. Ah! Okay. The name in German sounds less epic. In German, it's just Congregation for Religious Belief. That was the direct translation that, well, Germany has. And in English, it's called the Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office. Oh, no! The Supreme Sacred Congregation of the Holy Office is renamed Sacred Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. Ah, but the Roman Curia no longer use the adjective sacred, so it's called the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith. Okay, so not Congregation of Religious Belief, but Doctrine of Faith. That's Josef Ratzinger's previous employment before he became Pope. He was the chief Inquisitionist. That should be correct. Anyway, sorry for that. I think it's just relatively interesting. The previous Pope led the organization with a dark history. By the way, you might not know that, but the Inquisition was known to torture and kill a lot of women. That is true. A lot of women died, but also men. You know, not only women were called witches. There are also a shitload of men who also died because of false accusations. You know, one of the ways to trial someone, if he was truly doing witchcraft, was you put a weight, like a big stone, shackle it to his foot, and then you throw him in a river or a lake. And if he comes up again, he's clearly possessed and needs to die. And well, if he doesn't come up, he's innocent. Yay. And dead. Nice method, Catholic Church. Nice method. No matter the outcome, the accused dies anyway. So, yeah. Thank you. Despite her defiance, John would be dead within a month. What? Seriously? She died after saving Orléans? I mean, I have to admit, I never dealt with Jeanne d'Arc. I know the basics of her story. I know that she was famous and a warrior, and she's a symbol for France. But I never actually researched her role, 100 Years' War, canonized as a saint. Died 1431. She died 1431. Damn. Okay. What? Wait, what? 1431. English people accused her. And French priests then sent her to die because of heresy. What? 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 Wait, what? I see. Damn. Her connection to Karl VII of France was her doom. Oh boy, interesting. The rector of the University of Paris in 1420, 9 years before this, received from Henry V of England Bourgeois, and in France, and he sentenced her, or he helped sentence her to die. What? Yeah, because they wanted to get rid of the French king. Damn. So, because they, well, sentenced her because of heresy and witchcraft, of course, the king, you can almost say a compatriot of hers, at least he had a connection to her, had to be guilty as well. That was the line of thinking in the medieval ages. So, that was a way to get to Karl VII. Medieval ages. The more you research the medieval ages, the more ridiculous it gets. I mean, just imagine where humanity could stand today if not for the Catholic Church. I mean, you can easily say that we lost at least a millennia, maybe 1.5. I mean, just imagine what the Romans had, the Roman Empire, what technological state they had. I mean, I'm not sure if you know, but the Renaissance, the name of that period, you know, after medieval ages, before the newer times where we now live, that name means to rediscover the past. And they rediscovered what the Romans knew. So in 16th, 17th, 18th century, people got back to the state of the Roman Empire. I know it's a bit simplified, don't tell that to a historian, but it's a general statement. And imagine, if not for the Catholic Church, I mean, they burned and killed everyone who'd questioned their power, questioned God, and just imagine where we could be today. Just think about what humanity achieved alone in the last 50 years. Imagine, remember that your phone, the internet, is barely 25, 30 years old. And that's a short span. And the first computer was put in service when? Early 60s? First computer. And now the first computer in the world was as big as a house. ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. Oh, was the first programmable electronic general-purpose digital computer made in 1945. Oh, Alan Turing. Yay! A hero, and the Brits thought it would be a wise idea to castrate him because he was gay. I best not dive into that. Turing, Alan Turing, the story of him, it's a shame beyond shame. What the British people did to him, a hero, who helped them fight and defeat the monstrous Nazis. As reward for his heroic deed, they shunned him, they castrated him, they forcefully castrated him because he was gay. Thank you, British people, thank you. For fuck's sake. It's a shame what happened to Alan Turing. And, okay, 1945, the first super big one. And where was the first commercial computer? 1951. The first commercially produced electronic. Okay, let's see early 50s. That's barely 70 years. Remember what humanity could have achieved if we had 1,500 years of progress. I mean, it's not a linear construct. Of course, there were discoveries made along the way, even in the medieval ages, a few discoveries. Even though the Catholic Church was usually like, what? Is that compatible with God? And then the Pope, when he drank too much wine, he said, no. And then the discoverer was killed, and when the Pope drank too little wine, he also said, I need more wine. What? That bothers me. It's heresy. I mean, that's also simplified, but you know where I'm going with this. There was no logic or reasoning behind this. The Catholic Church reigned for, well, so many years. And hindered humanity's progress. I mean, it's a bit arrogant to talk about humanity's progress and I'm only reducing it to Europe. But it's the truth. Many do not want that without Europe, humanity would be, well, not at the place where we are now. Modern technology, locomotives, electricity, all of that kind of spooky stuff. It didn't come from the Asian areas or Africa or other countries in the world. Most of the technological advancements now in other nations originate in Europe. I think Africa would be where it is now, or Asia, China. If not for Europe, I doubt that. Europe shared its knowledge and technology. For a price, of course. Many, wanted a good price. And they got it. Slaves and gold and stuff. That's humanity. So Europe certainly did not help improve planet Earth because of the goodness of its heart, but mainly for profit. And that's about it. And now we're going to watch Desperation, and that's an interesting cue. And we're going with the next episode.
The French won an overwhelming victory at the Battle of Pontvalin. It was the first time the English had been utterly defeated during the war. But the triumph was short-lived. As England spent the next 60 years amassing French territory through alliances and victories at great battles such as Agincourt. It seemed that nothing could stop England. Who then could have foreseen that a teenaged girl was about to change the course of history? In 1429, France was in dire straits. Nowhere was it more evident than the besieged city of Orléans. The city was completely surrounded by English-held forts. But just a few days' ride away, here in Chinon, there was potential help. The French royal prince, the Dauphin Charles, was holed up in his fortress and under pressure to ride out to save Orléans. As Charles hesitated, a young peasant girl arrived at his court. Her name was Jeanne d'Arc. She claimed to have received saintly visions, giving her a divine task to help Charles become king and drive the English out of France forever. Charles was skeptical, but was soon convinced of her divinity. And he charged this 17-year-old with the near impossible mission to liberate Orléans. To Jeanne, this was the first step in realizing her God-given destiny. In April 1429, she rode out from Chinon at the head of her army to confront the hated enemy of France,